Welcome to the February 2020 School Employer Advisory Committee meeting, and welcome to our webcast viewers as well. I'm Susan Ford, and I'll be your facilitator this morning, along with our team over here, William Greenhalgh and Angelina Jacobo. First, I'd like to wish everyone a Happy New Year, and along with the new year is a new location schedule for these meetings. Normally, we switch off between CalSTRS and CalPERS, but as some of you might know, CalSTRS is going through a major construction project for the next couple of years. So for 2020 and 2021, all the meetings will be here at CalPERS. And we'll go back to STRS in 2022. So just a few housekeeping notes before we get started with our presenters. Everybody should have a gray folder in front of them. So we have made one per attendee. So feel free to take those with you. If you need additional information, you can get the materials online. And for those of you who's first time in this building, I want to let you know where the restrooms are. We've actually got 3 sets of restrooms in this hallway. We've got one down here to the right of me, so it's like around the corner from the patio. And then we have one in the center by the elevator banks, and then one all the way down to the other end of the building. And please sign in if you haven't done so already. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be joined by webcast viewers today. So when you ask your questions during the session, please wait for the microphones to get to you. That way everyone watching via webcast can hear the question, as well as everyone in the room. And for those webcast viewers, if you have questions, we'd like for you to email your questions to the SEAC mailbox. And that mailbox is calpers_SEAC@calpers.ca.gov. So that's calpers_SEAC@calpers.ca.gov. That is it for housekeeping. We are ready for our first presenter. So Andrea Peters will come up and give us some information on Ledge Update.
Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Andrea Peters, and I am with the Legislative Affairs Division here at CalPERS, and I am providing you a legislative update. So I just wanted to ask a quick question as I was kind of going through my notes. How many people are familiar with the legislative cycle at the state capitol? Okay, we've got a couple. So we are actually in the second year of a 2-year legislative cycle. So the first year was 2019. We are now in the second year, our 2020 year. So that means that bills that were introduced in the first year can carry over into the second year. And so that is kind of where we are here in legislative affairs right now, is reviewing those 2-year bills. So those 2-year bills in the legislative cycle, if in the first year it wasn't vetoed, it has a chance to be heard again in the second year. And we've already passed 2 of those deadlines for the second year. So right now in legislative affairs, we're still early in the cycle for as new introduced bills that for 2020. And there are bills that are being amended that we are currently reviewing, but we are also taking out those bills that have died in the second year that have missed those first 2 deadlines in the legislative cycle. So that is what we are doing. So as far as reports on specific bills, we don't have a lot because we are still in that process of reviewing all of the new and introduced bills. So we are working on other things, though. This month, we have 3 items going to the Board of Administration, and that is what I'm going to update you guys on today. The first item is our board legislative report. This is going to include the updates on the 2-year bills that are either moving forward or that have died. It does not include new introduced bills or bills that have been recently amended because we are still in the process of reviewing those, and we have to send them over to our program staff first to get them to concur on what we see before we can present it to board. So that is our first board item. Our second board item is our annual housekeeping bill, and there are two major provisions within that bill. The first one conforms the Public Employees Retirement Law to the recently signed Federal Secure Act, which increased the required minimum distribution age for retirement accounts from 70 and a half years old to 72 years old. So CalPERS always uses the federal minimum age of distribution. And so when the federal made that change in December of 2019, we are now going to update the PERL to conform to federal law. So that is the first provision within the housekeeping bill. The second provision clarifies that confidential data may be shared as specified within the bill. Specifically, this is going to further clarify that we can share confidential data with reciprocal pension systems. So this is for reciprocal benefits. And then also that we can share confidential data that is requested in court orders. So we already have the ability to do this, but we need to make it explicitly clear in the law because it is not as clear as some of our other provisions. So the third item that we will be bringing to the Board of Administration is a proposal relating to the disclosure of private debt records to encourage borrowers program participation. So this provision parallels existing disclosure requirements already in law relating to alternative investment vehicles. It also ensures that the public will continue to receive information that they need to evaluate fund performance while protecting the confidential financial information of our borrowers. This also improves CalPERS' ability to access private debt investment opportunities. So those are the three items that we will be taking to board this month. And I am open to take any questions that you guys may have for us.
Here we go. Good morning. I'm Sean from LA County. And I just took a bite, sorry. I'm not familiar with the minimum age of distribution and the effects of that going from 70 to 72. Can you explain that a little bit more?
So this is the distribution age for when you must withdraw contributions. So this is primarily impacting the 457 and the 401ks. It does impact the 403b, which is our defined benefit, if you have a permanent separation from CalPERS. So, but other than that, it's the normal way of business. It doesn't change our formulas or anything else in that. It's just the distribution age. No problem. Any other questions? That would be it for me. Thank you.
Okay, so next up is Kevin Lau.
Good morning, everyone. So for those that know me, I'm Kevin Lau. If you probably know me, then you probably had an audit before. Is it better? All right. Fix this real quick. So again, my name is Kevin Lau. So for those that you know me, you probably had an audit, which is probably a good thing, right? So for here today, I'm not here to talk about pay rates, so yay, but you can definitely ask me questions afterwards. So I want to go and talk a little bit about certificated reporting. So, as an overview, I want to kind of discuss how, certificated reporting is recommended to be reported, although it's not governed by the statute. There are some recommended ways that would make a lot easier on the reporting. And then later on, we're going to talk about, some future enhancement, but it's kind of premature right now, so we want to also solicit some feedback for some potential designs. So first, how do we, why do we recommend a certain way in reporting these certificated members? So one of the computation from our statute is 20962, specifically A1, which makes it very different in certificated members versus classified members. So for certificated members, as long as they work an academic year, whether they're a 10-month, 11-month, or 12-month employee, they will earn a full years of service within the fiscal year. And that is why we are recommending one of the reporting way as, sorry,
Closer to the mic.
closer. Sorry. Better? No? Still? Is it me or is it the mic? This should be better, right? All right. So for reporting as equal payment, this is a recommended way to report. And really the reason why is we commonly see that there are 9-month employee, but they're truly working for 10 months. We don't look at how you contract with a member. How we look at it is if you rendered a service, whether it's just one extra day at the end of the beginning of the month or towards the end of the academic year, we're counting those as 10. So for example, we commonly see a 9-month certificated member. They truly work from the end of August. Maybe they come into prep for a day or two, and then they work until beginning of May. What we see is, if we render the service or if the member rendered a service, we are constituting them as a 10-month versus you may contract them as a 9-month. So next, here's a very good example of how what's the recommended way. So for example, as a 9-month contracted certificated member, they truly work over a span of 10 months. Assuming that this member worked, the annual salary is $100,000. So the most simple way in reporting it is just to divide that by however many months that person worked. For this example, it will be 10 months. So how we report these is in equal payments. This is the recommended way because you don't have to look at, is this member going to earn a full service? And also the recommended way to report the pay rate is going to be monthly due to the fact of if you report an hourly pay rate, we would look at it as a 40-hour, as a full-time, right? So to ensure that the certificated member is earning the full service by reporting in equal payments of pay rate and earnings for the month's work, we're going to ensure that member is earning a full service each month. And of course, in most of the cases, most of the members are going to be working at least 10, 11, or 12 months, and this will ensure that the member is earning a full service within the academic year per fiscal year. So next, again, it's very premature right now. We are talking about some of the system enhancements. One of the things that we're looking into right now, again, we have not even implemented any designs. We're still kind of in the talks, is to have some type of identification for certificated members. And really that really sets from certificated versus classified. So we can identify, okay, if this is a teacher per se or faculty member, we know that if this member doesn't or didn't earn a full service, maybe it will raise a flag for us. Maybe did the member terminated early, or is it a reporting issue? So that's going to kind of trigger us to kind of look into these certificated members. Next is the payroll validation. We're potentially looking to design somehow to look into per fiscal year, did this certificated member earn a full service? Again, it's additional validation just to ensure that when the member does retire, we're ensuring that they're getting a full service, accurate benefit payments and such. Of course, once we determine a better plan in the future, we're looking to send, again, a circular letter. I think in the meantime, I think we can really engage into kind of talk about how we can enhance the system as well. Maybe there are some feedback or ideas, so definitely feel free to reach out to us. I'll be hanging around, and so is my team as well, and then we'll get some feedback. So any questions? I know it's fairly quick.
Lots of questions.
No pay raise, right? I'm just kidding.
The example that you used, this is Veena from Orange County. That 9-month employee getting 10 equal payments. As you know, we went through the audit where the 11-month employees were paid 10. So we had to recalculate their rates. So when we do that, the auditors, is it still report as earned first, right?
Yes.
It's still report as earned.
Mm-hmm. So there's definitely two methods. The first way is reporting as earned, right? You're truly reporting if they work that month, however many earnings it is, you want to report for that particular month. So in most of those cases, you'll see maybe the beginning and the end of the month, it's going to be a lowered earnings, but then in the middle chunk where they're from month 2 to month 9, for example, you'll see the earnings a little bit higher than the reported pay rate. It's due to the fact you're reporting as earned, right?
So if they really worked from, let's say, September through May, let's say it was 9.
Yep.
Then we cannot give them 10 or 11 payments. Then they will not get 1 year service.
By the
even
payroll
though they
data,
were
correct.
academic full-time assignment.
Correct. Because of the fact of how the payroll is reported in the system, it's not generating because if it's 0.1 times 9, which this member wouldn't technically earn a full service. So that is also why we want to build these system enhancements to kind of catch those. But I think in majority of the cases, at least that I've seen, it's most of the time it's 9-month contracted employees working over 10 months.
Yeah, like they start August 25th or something. But I wanted to make sure when I read that 9 months getting 10 payments. So really, if they didn't work in the month of August, then we have to do 9 payments and they will not get 1 year.
Correct.
Service.
And in those cases, definitely let us know to see if we have any type of workaround and how we could report that in the system. But we're definitely aware of that. And that's also why we want to build those validations. And I know your other concern is regarding about the auditors, right?
Yes, and special comp calculation.
Hey, if I might interrupt for just a moment. Actually, though, for certificated members, though, if they do happen to only work in a 9-month period and it's a full academic year, they still should get that year. So if it was 9 months, you'd have to report the payroll in such a way to ensure that they got that full year. Yes.
So if we do that, we give 10 months, then the auditors come back and they say it's not report as earned.
Well, you would have to report it over 9 months, but give them the full year. So they might have to earn a little bit more than a month every month in order to ensure that they got that full year if it's an academic year. I'm assuming, though, that that's pretty rare, that they would actually work 9 months.
But if we go that route, where they have additional assignments or outgrowth or other activities like they do first period, then the way we understand PERS is that they have only made election for this job only, don't report to us anything else.
Right, correct. If they only have that one certificated position, right, that's all you report for. What I'm just trying to say is that if in the unfortunate event that they only really do work only 9 months and they don't work even a day in that next month, we still, because in the statute it says that an academic year equals a full year of service, we would need to have the data reported in such a way that the person still got a year even though they worked 9 months. In a rare situation like that, I would definitely recommend you guys reach out to us and we can help you with figuring out how to do that. I'm assuming, though, that that's rare, right?
Yeah, it is rare.
I don't know if I've seen, I'm sure it's happened, but I haven't really seen that
Yeah, I
before.
just wanted to make sure when we read that, it kind of conveys, even if they are 9 months, they should get 1 year service.
That is correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely going to
Only when certificated, though, right?
Yes,
Not
yes.
for the classified.
Yeah, I'm only also talking about certificating. How can we win this game?
This one would be very hard because if they truly only work 9 months and you're reporting equal payments for 9 months, it's going to be very difficult for you to, let's just say, manipulate the data to give them the extra service. So definitely reach out to us at that time for those that are truly working just strictly 9 months, because we want to make sure that the way that we are helping you to report in the system doesn't also trigger any type of audits as well.
Right.
Okay, other thing about certificated employees, since I have the mic in my hand, I wanted to bring up is that, on the certificated side, when the contract changes or number of days changes, it is easier to do one-time adjustment to make sure they get 1 year service, but it's harder to do that on PERS side.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more difficult because certain district may not be financially independent to report their own payroll. So majority of the district would have to relay payroll data of some sort back to the COE to make them report it. We do have a couple easier tools that may help. Something is known as the maintain payroll function. Some of you may know. It's as easy if you go into the reporting side, search for the CalPERS ID or maybe Social Security for the member. Once it populates, you can easily just kind of do like a checkbox shopping kind of menu to either modify it to change the pay rate, earnings, and whatever you need, or you can strictly reverse them all out, and then you can later on through your upload to report the correct payroll. So definitely a couple options, but definitely it's not the easiest way because there are certain barriers between districts and COEs. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? No? All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kevin. So next up is Spencer Halsley from our compensation review team.
Good morning. How is this? Better than Kevin? Nothing? Better or worse without the mic? Okay. Can I have a handheld?
Sure.
That might be better. Good morning. How is this? Excellent. Okay. I didn't want you to have to strain to hear as I recite every government code pertinent to compensation review. So I'll start again. Good morning. I'm Spencer Halsey, Compensation Review Unit. My team does reciprocal compensation review, and that's what I'll talk to you about briefly, not equal payment reporting. So the reciprocal determination process is as follows. A member must retire concurrently from all systems. If a member is last employed by CalPERS, their compensation is likely highest with CalPERS, and so we will use their CalPERS salaries for calculation of their final retirement benefit. If the member is last employed by a reciprocal agency, we will then send an SRF, or a salary request form, to that reciprocal system, and we are requesting from them a breakdown of compensation components. So pay periods, pay rates, special compensation items identified, as well as a pay schedule to validate the pay rate, and an MOU or labor policy or agreement to validate any special compensation if reported. These requirements are also spelled out in a February 1st circular letter of 2018. And so just to get into a little bit more detail about what we're requesting on this salary request form is the membership and retirement date, type and years of service, confirmation of a pending disability application, and then the member's position title. And this is something that we encounter frequently is we'll often receive the position title of the individual completing the form, which we appreciate and are interested in. However, retirement analyst does not assist in our review. We're revising our form to make that very clear. We do recognize there's the possibility for confusion when completing the form. So I'll just take this opportunity to reiterate, we're very interested in the member's position title so we can validate their pay rate. Included on the form is the breakdown of components. So historically we would have an FAC, which would be derived from the pay rate and the special compensation. We want to see a breakdown for our purposes of validating, and I'll get into the compliance review component in a moment. So a breakdown of all those components, and then as I said, a pay schedule and written labor policy or agreement if applicable. And we'll go ahead and take a little bit of blame on the current form. The form as you see it now, if no special compensation is included in the final average compensation, then you could rightly assume you do not need to submit a pay schedule. So we're again correcting that. In all cases, we will want a pay schedule to validate pay rate, and then we'll want an MOU or labor policy or agreement in those instances where there is special compensation reported. So into the compliance review. Once we have all this information gathered, my team will verify that compensation reported to us is compliant with the Public Employees Retirement Law. Assuming it is, we will make a determination, route this information to our benefits services area, and they will then put the member on roll with this validated compensation. If, however, we identify compensation that should be excluded that is not compliant with the PEARL, we'll make a determination, we'll draft a letter explaining what is excluded, why it has been excluded, and then send a letter to both the reciprocal system as well as the member, affording the member appeal rights. The impact to the member is, of course, we are excluding compensation from their FAC, and so their benefit will be otherwise reduced from what it would have been had we included that compensation. Alternatively, if we are unable to validate anything reported to us because we have not been provided with a pay schedule or with an MOU, and we have tried our best and been unable to find it, we may defer to the CalPERS salaries that we have reported for the member. In many instances, these salaries are from several years in the past. They're much lower than the salaries the member was earning in their last year. And so this will result in a, albeit temporary, reduction in benefit. If and when we receive the required information, we'll revise our determination and then put the member on roll with the correct validated salaries. Any questions so far? And actually, I wanted to interject. Have any of you received requests from a compensation review analyst for additional information? No emails from anyone at CalPERS requesting a pay schedule or an MOU or 1, 2, 3, all the time. Okay, so all over the place. So some people, this is relevant for some. Excellent. And for those of you who have not yet received a request, that does not mean you won't at some point. So hopefully this is of value. Here are some applicable codes and regulations, which I threatened to read, but which I will not. And this just provides kind of our authority and as well as our definitions. Okay, and now any questions from those who have received a request or those who have not and want to know a little bit more?
I noticed that when we get these requests, there's usually a deadline of like 3 or 4 business days. And so sometimes we have districts that don't respond in time. Is there any time or any way to, give us a little bit more time to get this information back to you?
Yes, is the short answer. The SRF, when we receive it, we request that the salary schedule and MOU be provided when you're providing the breakdown of compensation components to RBSD. So ideally, all of the information is at the very beginning of the process. By the time it makes its way to our team, we have all the information and we can review and get the member on roll as timely as possible. We do build some flexibility into the process to work with a responsive contact. So if we haven't heard anything, then we may want to move to using the CalPERS salaries because we do not want to unduly delay the member getting on roll. Even if it's reduced, it's still better to do something and then to begin working a little bit more proactively with the system to get that needed information. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Spencer. And so next up is Christy and Rihanna for late enrollment topic. Oh, you want this?
Yes.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Okay. My name is Rihanna Lawadi.
Christy Bozo-Baldenegger. I'm the manager of the membership review team, and Rihanna's one of our membership SMEs, so she's helping today with the presentation.
So we're going to go over today what is the late enrollment, go into employer paid arrears, automation, a couple of letters, and who will be receiving the letters. We have some new My CalPERS screens and additional enhancements that will be coming. So, business partners have 90 days to establish membership and report contributions to CalPERS. If it's done outside of the 90-day time frame, it's going to be considered a late enrollment. So late enrollments are subject to employer paid arrears. So it's very important to ensure that members are enrolled timely to reduce costs. So with employer paid arrears, employers are liable for all arrears costs. So that's going to include employer contributions, member contributions, along with a $500 administrative cost. Arrears costs cannot be passed to the employee. That is very important. They cannot be charged or billed for any portion of the arrears when it's considered employer paid. So we do have several system enhancements coming. The first is going to be for late enrollments, and that's going to be beginning in early March. Christy is going to go ahead and talk about it further.
Okay, so we have, did I get to the next page? I did. Okay, so right now you're receiving, if you do a late enrollment, how many of you have received the request for our notification for reported late enrollment, the CalPERS 0847? How many have filled them out and sent them back? Okay, so with the, so we're going to save you a step. Now we're not going to ask for that information. We're going to automatically determine that there's been employer paid arrears because of that late enrollment. So part of the system fix is we're going to automate that process, speeding up the correct enrollment for the members at the time that you late enroll them. So those notifications, we're going to repurpose the 0847. It's now going to be called the notification of reported late enrollment appointment letter, and it will be mailed to you, the business partner, and the participant. It's going to notify you of the date of the employer paid arrears time frame, so it'll be automatically put into the letter depending on what date you enrolled the member into CalPERS. And it does provide you, the BP and the member, a 30-day appeal time frame. So, and you don't necessarily, as the employer, if you have concerns about the determination, you don't necessarily have to appeal within 30 days. If you want to provide additional information within 30 days, please email the membership reporting box, say I have some additional information to provide, and you can always appeal in writing or emailing that box if you don't hear or have a response within that time frame. But you can always provide additional information within the 30-day time frame without actually appealing the determination. So if you have additional information, you need to provide it within those 30 days to appeal the determination. So if you agree with the determination, the automatic determination that CalPERS is going to be making, you'll receive a second letter in 30 days, the notification of employer paid arrears processing letter. And that'll be mailed after 30 days after you received the first letter. That's going to notify you that the arrears determination is going to be processed and that the agency will be charged the $500 administrative cost. And in that, you will also be required to take care of the payroll that needs to be reported. And at that point, the appeals window is passed, so you're no longer allowed to appeal at that point. Okay, so who's going to get the letter? How many of you are the arrears administrator at your agency? How many of you know we have arrears administrators, or you can put someone in that role in CalPERS? If not, I would suggest that you check with your admin person that does the CalPERS roles and make sure that you do have an arrears administrator listed under CalPERS so that these letters go to the appropriate person, ones that can help us in gathering the information if we need to when those letters are sent out. So this is the order that they'll be sent out. So it'll be arrears administrator, if there's an arrears administrator, payroll, human resources, and then general. So please validate that the information is correct. Okay, on to the new screens. So this is the first new screen that we have. The arrears determinations panel is going to be added to the appointment list page. The permission set required at this point is retirement enrollment. And you will be able to view determinations associated with your agency or So pretty clear here, employer BPID, the appointment ID for the member that there was arrears determination, the type of arrears determined, and the beginning and end date of the determination, as well as the determination date for the late enrollments. Any questions while we have the screen up on the screen? Yes.
I just want to make sure I got that flow right. So you're not going to send the letter anymore?
Not sending the 0847, which is the
Yeah.
request for information that we have sent in the past. You're going to
Okay.
automatically get a letter saying that you were late. It's considered employer paid arrears because of the late enrollment.
Okay. So then the 30 days starts from that point.
The clock is ticking.
Yeah. Can we have 60 days? Because the reason is we are the county office and we have almost 50 districts. We try our best to contact, get them. Sometimes they don't have records. They have to get records from storage. So it takes them time to get done.
Well, this for late enrollments is going to be going forward, so they should be newer
I'm talking
appointments.
about arrears kind of situation.
For this process with the late enrollments, if you receive the letter and you know at that point that you are not going to be able to meet the 30 days, please contact us because we can provide an extension if necessary. But we need to be contacted that you're having an issue with getting, we understand. We have legacy systems we have to go research information on. So certainly we are not going to, say no. We're going to provide an extension if need be, but you must contact us and request an extension either in writing or contact the analyst that you've dealt with in the past, which most of you should have a singular analyst that you're dealing with as far as membership. So please reach out to them as soon as you get the letter if you think you might not have enough time to gather the information, because we understand, it's summer break, winter break. We understand that staffing or having to go back into microfiche or boxes somewhere are an issue. So please contact us as soon as you get them if there's an issue with getting the information to us.
Okay, and then are we supposed to set up an administrator at each district? So
yes.
the letter can go to that district?
Yes, because that's who we contact at each. If we have to contact a specific district, we'll reach out to the person that's listed relative to that order.
Okay, and then once you send that letter, you know how the information is being posted in that document history box? Some of the information. So they will just get a hard copy letter, right? It's not like it gets posted in the document history.
The letter that we send out, the previous letter will get uploaded into the member and employer's doc history, as well as the second letter, so that everyone is so we can look back and say, oh, they got the letter, they got the second letter, etc. So those will be both in the employer's doc history and the member's document history.
Good morning, Ramona Coker, Stanislaus COE. It's going to go to each of the districts that we set up. Is it going to also CC the county?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mention that.
Juanita Lopez, Sacramento County Schools. Is it safe to tell our districts that if they do late enroll somebody and they know that they've done it late, 90 days, don't report it? Because what they do is they late enroll somebody and then they go and they do all the arrears monthlies. And then what ends up happening is correct me if I'm wrong, we have to go back and back that out.
We're going to provide additional information in the very near future on the payroll reporting aspect of the arrears determinations.
Okay, I tell them that anyway, but they do it anyway.
Right. So we'll provide additional information
that's great.
either via the SEAC mailbox or we have a circular letter that's going to be coming out. So certainly look for that in the future. We're trying to streamline and lean out these processes for both my CalPERS and for you as the employer. So we'll provide that information as soon as we can. Okay.
Good morning.
Yes, Mr. Payroll, Brad.
Sorry to interrupt you, Chrissy, but yeah, so we are looking at enhancing the arrears process, right? We have some My CalPERS updates will be coming probably within the next 3 months to a year. There's going to be several different phases. But, you touched on the payroll reporting, and yeah, she's right. Like when it's reported through payroll, we have to back that out. The good news is one of the enhancements we're targeting probably for December of this year is that we're going to have a new type of payroll transaction added in for arrears. So then an employer, like a school employer, could go in and report the payroll using this new transaction type. It'll be like an arrears transaction. When we know that you'll have to work with like your third-party vendors and whatnot, and we'll give you guys the advance notice before we launch that out there. But the good news is in the future, this time next year, you'll be able to report it through payroll and not have to do all those backups. Yeah. And we'll also have a validation in there. If you don't use the arrears transaction type, you use like your earned period report for your arrears, it will error. So just a little sneak preview of what's to come on that. There could be some minor changes, but that's our vision going forward.
And just to reiterate, this process that's new is specific for what would be the 90-day violations, the late enrollments. We still have enhancements coming relative to service prior to membership requests. When we get that information and we're processing and it ends up being member paid or employer paid arrears in that way. So this is specific to the 90-day late enrollments. This screens the letters that are going to be going out. So this is the next new screen, the arrears detail panel, and this is basically a view for you. I apologize for LAUSD using their employer ID and information on here, but just a sample of what you're going to see on the arrears detail panel. It'll be the participant name, CalPERS ID. Any questions on that screen? Okay. Okay, so as we talked about, we have additional My CalPERS enhancements that are going to be relative to the arrears determinations and the membership reviews. So we're looking to expedite this for everyone, not only yourself, but the members that are requesting service prior to membership or have arrears reviews to go through. And so we are working on getting those rolled out. And again, we will, this is just the first phase of those enhancements that we're going to be making to make it easier for everyone to get the members to get their appropriate and earned service credit. Okay, so basically you guys recognize all these resources. There's nothing new here, but here's our membership reporting email box. So for those of you that do get those letters and maybe don't have the email box, this will get to our seasonal clerk team, and they'll get those emails routed to the appropriate analyst if you have questions on the letters you receive regarding late enrollments. Okay, questions? Any additional questions?
Good morning. Is it possible to get a sample of the letter that's going to go to the member? I just would like to know in advance before they start getting letters that they may not understand and start calling around.
Right. We can certainly get one sent via the SEAC box out to everyone that has access to the information.
Thank you.
Hi, Erica with Riverside County. Since we are not furnishing the payroll information any longer on the notice of late appointment, where are you getting the payroll information to base the arrears off of?
The arrears is going to be based off of the dates that you made the changes to the appointment, and we're going to provide the information relative to payroll and payroll reporting at a later date. Before the enhancement is implemented, we will let you know.
I don't understand. Sorry.
So we are still determining the final process and how you're going to report that payroll. So we'll provide that information to the employers well in advance of this fix going in.
So it's not going to be like the projected contributions where you guys are going to.
I'm going to defer to Brad again.
Because if it's a late appointment, I'm assuming there's no payrolls reported, so there wouldn't even be like something to take an average from.
I'll let Brad talk about the payroll part.
So it's going to be like a two-phase approach. There'll be multiple ways in which you'll be able to report that payroll data. There's going to be a panel. So you can do like one-offs on this panel. It will kind of mirror the 1344 that we have now. So instead of using that old paper form, you'd go onto the panel and enter that information in there. And then eventually, come December, I'm hoping next of this year, then you'll be able to just do a regular payroll report using that new transaction type. In between that period, that's where we're still kind of in that gray area of what we do now to when we get the enhancement. So that's what we'll let you guys know a little bit more detail soon.
So you're still depending on us to furnish the
Yes.
information that you'll be charging arrears?
We would need it because we don't have that data either,
Okay.
right?
I
If
just
there's-
wanted to make sure it wasn't like a projection.
No, it will not be a projection. No, we will still need it from you, obviously, because we don't have it, and we can't project backwards.
So when we enroll our person late, there's no question we don't need a 30-day. We know that we need to report this past payroll. Will we have the ability to, at the point of enrollment, then provide? Can that be an enhancement where we can provide the information at that time for all those past, rather than wait our 30 days and then?
Well,
Provide
here's the
information.
trick with it. We'll have to identify its arrears first, and once it's identified, then that will open up that ability for you to do that transaction type of the arrears. That's the part I'm not 100% sure. That'll be in December. So essentially, yes, you'll be able to do that.
There are times
the
where we
system
just
will,
know.
for like the 90 days, the system will pretty much will automatically know if it's in arrears, essentially, and then it will pretty much kick it off instantaneously. The ones that might take a little bit longer is if we have to do a review to see if it's a service prior to membership or if it's a true arrears. Those older cases, those ones will probably take a little bit longer to have that turn on,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, we finished up a little bit early, but I think it's still a good time to take a break. So let's take 15 minutes. Be back here at, say, 10:32, 10:33.